Don't use this in your hair, for the love of God, people. What is happening out there? What is this insanity? And why do we have to make another video when there's already 10,000 of these videos out there? What's up, everybody? Eddie Ohanian, Bernard Ori, Profitable Stylist channel. Here we go. We got to talk about this today. We got to talk
Hey
about
guys,
this.
we were going to talk about glues and adhesives and attachment methods, and then, my goodness, Gorilla Glue stole the world's attention and stage. So, hey, why can't we talk a little bit about it? You know, I've been on the road for the last couple of years teaching hair replacement, and it's funny because I shouldn't say hate. First of all, I love Gorilla Glue. It's what I use in my shop when I'm putting pieces of wood together, metal together. Gorilla Glue is an amazing glue, but I've been traveling the country for a couple of years now, teaching hair replacement and saying, class up your words. If you're going to talk about something that bonds hair to a person's skin, scalp, puts hair on, let's call it something fancy like adhesive, bonding agent, and then the world goes crazy with glue right on the head. I think maybe using the word glue might be better now. I don't know. I'm so lost.
For years, I've been trying to get people to stop using the word glue. Look, I'm with you, man. Duct tape, Gorilla Glue, zippy ties, done.
Save the world. I mean,
I could build a house.
what? You know, it's funny. We should do a whole video on what compares to those in the hair world. Like, what can you not do without in the hair world? Because you're right.
What's the okay? That'll be the next one. What's the equivalent of duct tape?
Because in the real world or the non-hair world, you're right. Duct tape, Gorilla Glue, and zip ties. I mean, I might add a little JB Weld in there. But let me talk. I'm gonna, at the end of this video, I'm gonna talk about what my favorite attachment method is. But right now, God, this is not really the history of hair, but it almost lends to a little bit of history, because I want to talk about some of the things I have written down here. And I think we'll start with hair replacement like we just did. When you're putting hair replacement on, you're bonding a skin-like membrane to a person's scalp. Sometimes they have hair, sometimes they're shaved down to the skin. So there's different methods to put it down. And without going into great detail or making this a hair replacement class right now, for years, a thick, clear adhesive that had an acrylic base or an acrylic makeup was the most popular. Lately, over the last couple of years, they've been moving to silicone, holding a little bit better. They're both very clear and about the consistency of, I'm in Louisiana, so I'm going to say pine tree sap, a real thick, clear, gooey substance. But then a water-based has been kind of a side, you know, they run side by side. If you want something a little more hypoallergenic, a little safer for the head, the water-based white creamy adhesives, and there's a lot of names there, but those are popular for not sticking as well, but sticking a little more comfortably and feels a little bit more like a latex. So between latex, acrylic, silicone, I don't even know what the chemical makeup in Gorilla Glue is, but definitely don't put Gorilla Glue on your head. These other ones stick pretty well and still sometimes have trouble coming off. What's the next one we want to talk about on your list?
You know, the most obvious one would be extensions. All the different ways of attaching extensions to somebody's head. You've got the keratin, you've got plastic, you've got glue. You know, and keratin by far is the best one. That's what our hair is made out of. It's the same protein. It goes on the easiest. It's the most gentle on the hair. It comes off the easiest way. Plastic melts. I don't know if anybody's ever melted plastic. It makes some weird black toxic smoky thing you're not supposed to sniff, you know? And it is rock hard. You could literally cut somebody. That's how sharp and hard plastic gets after it rehardens, after it's been melted. You know,
that's a good point. So if you don't shape it well on the head, you've got some pretty sharp edges. It's not soft. I didn't even think about that as far as plastic. Some companies come up with a fancier word and they'll call it polyester bonds. But basically polyester is a plastic also. Some people are using beeswax and other sticky products, but I'm with you. I think keratin's the base there if you're going to heat something up that's going to melt. But then if we go on from there, without getting too deep into the history of hair, because that's really one of the videos I want to make. I mean, 30 years doing hair extensions. I've seen hair extensions come through some processes, and I don't want to go into that history right now, but that history does kind of lend to the different techniques that have been done over the years. For a long time, it was just kind of braid it in, sew it in, some sort of string or some kind of glue or a combination of both. And then we went to a bunch of alternative methods, and we went into, oh man, I keep wanting to go through the whole freaking history, but between tapes, glues, adhesives, beads, or links, or there's so many names for them, but you know, they kind of squeeze on there. And that, just forget about the chemical makeups of all these adhesives. The beads themselves are made up of, you just named a bunch of them. Do you want to name them again?
Oh, well, yeah, from the beads, man, dude, there's the metal ones, there's the plastic ones, copper, silicone, you got the alloy versions, the threaded versions. There's so many different versions of them out there.
They're filling some of them with silicone. I mean, the funniest thing about silicone to me is it's used for slippery surfaces, like we want to make things more slippery, or we put it in a bead because we want to make it not slip. So which is it really? Come on, which is it? Is it to slip or is it to not slip? When it's in the bead, it ends up rolling out. It was a great idea. When it dries, it's supposed to be a little more grippy. It doesn't really grip as well as they thought it would, so it slips out. So they tried threads on the inside of those beads, which just end up cutting the hair. If you get the right alloy, it'll hold pretty well. So beads are an option, and there's so many different ways to use the beads. I'm not sure if all the old ones should still be around, because we've come so far in the extension world as to how we hold them in. Then you've got the newest trend right now of toppers, just things that go on the top of the head. Many people my mom used to sell wigs. She had a wig shop. So I am familiar with comb, not the comb clips, but just the two combs. Have you ever seen the kind of wig that has a comb in the front and back? You kind of tilt them and get them in there. And, oh boy, the one in the front's easy. And then when you stretch that thing and your eyes go way back, and you pull that back.
That was Botox before Botox was a thing.
Right. So sometimes they had them on the side too, but usually it was just two combs, or they would get in there and slip a couple of bobby pins in. I mean, we're going to talk about attachment methods. I mean, bobby pins have got to be some of the oldest, huh?
Right.
Bobby pins,
Look, we're going through them all.
Then we've got comb clips, that little thing that opens and shuts, and they coated that little thing with a little rubbery silicone potentially to not slip on there. But the combs were anywhere from just 4 of them to many of them to too many, too few, kind of like the clip-in extensions, but you'd clip the hair on top of the head. How else are they attaching those toppers?
I mean, that was pretty much it, and then because you had the toppers and you had everything else was a ponytail, a track, a fall, a something, and those were pretty much sewn in. You had yarn, you had thread, and it pretty much went from there, So between all of these different attachments and with all this craziness going on right now, and everybody's arguing about what's what, and it's not that one is bad and one is good. It's just being mindful of what you are working with and what are you trying to accomplish. And if you're out of something and you're trying to replace it with something else, for the love of God, think it through a minute, yeah?
Right,
so you were wanting to say, I don't know, to me, keratin bonds all the way when it comes to extensions. The flat beads all the way when it comes to the singles. If you're going to use glue or if you're going to use some kind of adhesive or a tape or something, medical grade. That's the whole purpose of medical grade adhesive. That's the reason why we have it. I think we're
going to end the video kind of with our favorites, and you kind of stole one of mine there, but that's okay. It could be your favorite too. I want to admit one little
like
thing,
you.
though. What's that?
I want to be like you.
Yeah. And you made me feel guilty there a little bit when you said, for the love of God, don't go to the hardware, and I'm thinking, guilty. I've been to the hardware to get things for the salon. I think we all haven't, and that's where it comes from. We're like, you know what? I need some acetone to remove some artificial nails in the salon. I'll go to the hardware and get a big can of it, a lot less expensive than the beauty supply. And then all of a sudden I need a removal tool or an applicator tool or something, and I end up buying some sort of a pair of pliers or something. So I can see hairdressers' love of the hardware or the big box store where we might save money or find a new tool.
Right.
But just to wrap this video up, I want to say my latest favorite lately, and I love all the techniques we talked about, because you're right, there's a time and place for them all. I've used them all, and there's still a time and a place for each and every one of those, depending on who I'm doing when, if we're doing runway or we're doing backstage, or we're doing really fast work, or we're just doing an everyday mom at home, or a model or a celebrity. Just depends on who you're doing, where you're at, and how long this hair has to stay on. If it's a movie set, everything changes. Period hair. But right now, for the real world, what I'm doing, I'm loving that newer bead where you pull the hair through the bead and you don't stick an eye in there. You don't stick anything else in there. It's an alloy aluminum bead by On-Stage Hair Extensions. You pull the hair through that bead, and it's made of an alloy that's supposed to stay. The tool itself puts this S curve in the bead, which makes it hold. So there's no silicone, there's no threads, and the S curve is smooth, so there's no cutting the hair. So that's my favorite lately, although I've used them all, still do. What's your favorite that we can wrap this video up with?
That's going to be the question for everybody. Let us know what you guys think. Weigh in on this, right? And we're going to go from there. Thank you guys, everybody. We're cutting it short because otherwise it's just going to get into a big old debate.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Bernard. I'll talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.